Good evening. We will open the meeting for Monday, November 28th. Entertain a motion to accept the agenda as may be amended.
So moved. Do we have Board of Liquor Control?
No, there's no liquor.
So let's take that out,
Okay.
all right, and then move 7 up to 6 and so
Yeah.
on.
Okay.
Motion to approve
Yep.
the agenda with 6 being taken out.
Okay. In favor of accepting the agenda as amended, please say aye. And
I make a
We have
motion to
minutes this
approve
week.
the minutes of November 14th.
Nope.
I read it earlier.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything when I read it earlier.
Second.
All in favor of accepting the minutes of November 14th as presented, please say aye.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of November 21st, where it was Chris and I, it's basically an executive session for road design of Killington Forward.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. There you go, you're in favor, right?
Yeah.
That's it, right?
Okay. Do we have any select board member concerns that were not already on the agenda?
I don't have a concern, but I just want to, Lyle Jepson, and I'm sorry, your name is?
Olivia Lyons.
Olivia Lyons is here from Cedar, and they've been to some other towns already. We are like a population of 1,500, I guess, now with whatever, and a lot of the other towns have upped their fee or whatever, and
They're a line item.
I know, but I'm
Okay.
just bringing everyone up to, I've asked them to, Lyle's asked to show up, so I put them on the agenda.
Yeah.
And hopefully we have them in the budget for 3,000 this coming year.
Everything else for me, we could do under probably executive session.
I have one other business, but it can wait, and I've already talked to Chet about it.
Okay.
We can just bring you guys up to date. It's
Great.
end of the meeting stuff. Okay. Actually, you're on the agenda, so you can't have citizen input yet. Patrick?
Got nothing.
Okay, for those of you zooming in, do you have something that's not already on the agenda you would like to bring up? Not seeing any hands?
Louis.
None for me, just
Lois.
informational for me.
Okay, thank you, Louis.
All right, thank you, Louis. Eli, you're unmuted.
Yeah, no, I'm just observing, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for observing.
Okay.
We have a small audience tonight.
Kurt, we know you're just sitting back, so thanks.
Okay. In that case, we are up. You two.
Great. Well, thank you for giving us some time here tonight. I know you've got lots to
I'm
do.
going to move out of the way because I'm between you and the camera.
I'm Lyle Jepson, the Executive Director of the Chamber and Economic Development of the Rutland region, which includes Killington. And I'm with Olivia Lyons, who is our Communications and Marketing Manager. And Killington has been at the forefront of supporting our regional marketing initiative since the very beginning, which started 7 years ago. And since that time, we have been keeping track of the number of people that we hope have been moving here because of that. Killington, as you know, saw a huge influx of people, primarily, I think, because of the pandemic that's kind of encouraged people to come to a safe place to live, and they did that. Our goal now is to keep people here, particularly in Killington. And other towns weren't quite as lucky as Killington. They haven't grown like you have, and so we're continuing to reach out beyond our borders of Vermont to bring more people here. The reason that is, and it started a while ago and continues today, and you still hear it today, is that our major employers and our smaller employers don't have enough employees. And so if you're in certain industries, you know how hard it is to get enough people to keep your doors open. So we're working very closely with our larger partners and our smaller partners to advertise their openings and to encourage people to move here. We wanted to show you some things tonight. We're not going to stay a real long time because, again, we know you have things on your agenda. But if you look through, and I'm going to kind of walk you through, Chet. Great. I'm going to walk you through the right-hand side of this very quickly, because we're not just about regional marketing, but at the end of the day, everything we're doing is encouraging more people to come here. That will support our businesses, it'll support our schools, it'll support our towns and our tax base. And so you see on the left-hand side our staff. There's basically 5.5 of us. You will see something that you'll say, well, what's this hub thing? Well, we have just opened a 22,000 square foot co-working facility business incubator in downtown Rutland. We hope that skiers will be encouraged to use the co-working space and then ski on the mountain. And you'll see how the prices are on that. Very similar, if you've heard of Hula in Burlington, this is very similar to Hula, a little smaller, but similar concept. And then you'll see our annual report. And within the annual report, you'll see some of the things that we've been doing economic development-wise. And you will see that we have a number of different committees. And those committees are all pulling in the same direction, and that is to get more people to move here. And on the right-hand side, you'll see some faces that you probably recognize, because a couple years ago, we went to every town and we encouraged them to tell us their story. And so Liquid Art told us their story, and we had them on video, and that video is up on our website. We called it My Story Is In, and in your case, Killington. And Olivia is really in charge of this regional marketing piece, and so she's going to tell you a little bit about our weekend getaway that took place, and in large part because of Killington's support.
Yes, so our most recent large campaign was the Real Rutland Weekend Getaway. So we put out an advertisement across the United States asking for families who are very serious about moving to Vermont to come spend just about an all-inclusive weekend with us. And with the help of Killington, we gave them rooms up at the Killington Grand, and then they took part in activities that took them all throughout the county to really understand where they could see themselves moving here and fitting in. The families were welcomed up at Still on the Mountain by us and a few other people. We had appetizers, some drinks, said, welcome, we're here if you need us, but we want you to take this time to explore on your own. So on Friday and Saturday, they had the chances to go kayaking at the reservoir. They went rock climbing down in Rutland. They also all took part in a Rutland County-wide scavenger hunt, which took them to every single town. Killington's hidden place that we sent them to was Thundering Brook Falls, which all of the families absolutely loved. And by the end of the time that they were leaving, they all really loved this place. One of the families actually put an offer on a house. It didn't go through, but they're still searching, and others are still interested in coming here. So this is just one example of some of the things that we do with the regional marketing money. This page right here with all of the circles, this is kind of illustrating what has happened over the years. So over 200 people have moved to Rutland County in over 10 towns. And we currently have over 30 active concierge volunteers. So those are people that we connect these people who are interested in moving here with. They're kind of like your first friend when you come here. They're the ones that you can ask, what are winter tires? What is up with home heating fuel? And ask the real questions that you need to know. So for the weekend getaway advertisements, these were the areas that we marketed and targeted, because that's where we're seeing a lot of people come from. It's those people who are trying to escape the fires, the heat, come where there's water. And these are examples of the ads that we put out there. And then on this bar graph here, this is just to show that when we run a campaign, it really works. So in June, we had the campaign going for the Real Rutland Weekend Getaway. In May, we did not. And our numbers increased a lot. Same goes for July and June, which you can see on the next set of graphs. And overall, we reached over over 400,000 people across the country. So they may not have signed up for this, but over 400,000 people saw and learned a little bit about Rutland, Vermont.
All social media based. During things like the World Cup, we're advertising up here. And so our campaign up here during the World Cup and during this winter will be, you can't get to 100 days unless you live here. So we're hoping that people will come here so that they can do the skiing that everybody enjoys.
Good idea.
You'll see our budget at the end there. Our municipalities, we're asking for $1, basically $1 a person. Killington has been extremely generous, and we appreciate that. Not all communities are participating yet, but we hope that they will in the future. But you'll see that the business community under revenues is really the driver of this, and the municipalities. So the business community recognizes the need to continue to market our region. The state is doing that as well, but the state does not focus on us, and so we want to focus on us, and that's what this money does. And you'll see that primarily where the money is being spent, other than outbound social media across the United States, everything, all the money stays here. The staff is here. The website design and all the things that we do to push out content happens right here. So the money stays local. The folks that are coming, it is very interesting. They're basically, I would say in large part, climate refugees. As Olivia pointed out, they really want to get to a place that they feel is safe, and they see Vermont as being that place. We're also seeing what we might call political refugees from around the United States, and those are people that don't really feel safe in their state. And I think it's hard for us to understand that, because we have a pretty open and accepting community here. There are other places in the United States that are not as open and welcoming, and so I think we should feel good about that. But there are people coming here because they feel we have a safe place to live. Your support continues to be essential to our process. Rutland City put in $16,000 because they realize how important it is to them. We go to Danby and Middletown Springs and Fairhaven and Brandon and Pittsford, and all of them are looking at this as something that's important. So we would open it to questions, if you had questions.
Yeah, Lyle, so the regional marketing initiative, that's just the budget for this initiative.
Right.
You do a lot more than just this.
Yeah, our total budget is, $1.5 million with everything else that we're doing. So we're an economic development organization. This is one piece of what we do.
What did we budget last year?
1,500.
Okay.
And then, I've had conversations with Lyle, and I believe when you look at where Rutland was, and now he's saying 16,000 or whatever going to there, they pretty much doubled up on theirs from where they were. This is a great program, and if you look into the World Cup magazine that was just put out, that the town took out the 2 pages or whatever, I believe. They took out one, and it is in there, and it says, and every once in a while the Mountain Times will say, you can't get 100 days in unless you live in the region or whatever. So they are promoting Killington in itself or whatever. I don't know if anyone will remember a year and a half ago when this TIF thing started out. It really was a few of us meeting up in Steve Selbo's office. I believe Chris was there. He wasn't even a select board member at the time. And, we met up with Michael, who was then at Replay, and now at Great Golf. But went down and spoke to Lyle and said, need to find money for this. Showed him the plan, and then made a few phone calls, and he's like, there's this, remember the mini TIF? It started off on a mini TIF that never passed. Never passed legislative, thank God. So, and
That was the largest TIF.
But there was Megan Sullivan, who now is president or whatever or vice president of the Vermont Chamber, and Lyle got us on a phone call with Megan, and here we are today looking at probably one of the biggest TIFs. So I really think we should just.
Well, it is the biggest TIF.
It is the biggest TIF probably ever.
It's not close.
So I was like, Lyle, you don't have to come here. I'll talk it, whatever. But they feel like they need to come up here and show us all what they're doing. And I just like to say thank you for what you guys are doing and ladies down there. And I think this is a no-brainer, saying $3,000 to the budget. It's a dues, or how do you have it put in there? Is it dues?
We're switching it out of dues into an actual appropriation, so that it's
Right.
the same as the other, so.
Right, okay. So, we don't have to put, because it was already in the budget, you're just moving it to appropriations. It's not gonna be,
It's not a new, no, no, we were just, no. It's a membership.
it's a membership moving over to.
Right.
Lyle, if I could ask you, how much has Killington, do you think, in kind contributed to this?
How much is what, I'm sorry?
How much has Killington as a resort contributed in kind?
To the regional
Yes, to this
marketing
program,
initiative?
yeah.
They've provided consistently $10,000 a year towards the plan. And whenever we go to them, as you might suspect, for, can we get some swag? Can we get a reduced room rate? Can we get, they are all in, just all in, yeah. And, of course, Amy Laramie, who you know, is on our board of directors. Mike shows up to events. I can't think of a community where, and you know it better than I do, 20 years ago, I'm not sure there was the relationship between the town and the resort that you have now.
Nope.
And now you have the town and the resort really pulling in the same direction, and it's a pretty amazing thing to see. And your TIF process, you know, as nice as you are to say, we've helped in some way, you've done all the work. All we did was say, here, it's on a piece of paper, you can do this, and you took it from there. And I've never seen this TIF process go as fast as it has here in Killington. And you've really been pushing. It's going really well. Don't tell anybody. But you've communicated extremely effectively, all the way from the governor's office to every member of the community. When I open up the Mountain Times, and you've got 3 pages in there of Killington Forward explaining why this is important, that's pretty essential. And the TIF wasn't necessarily made for a ski community, and you have made this work for every community, so I commend you.
I'm gonna kind of throw a wrench in things.
I know we were.
I think we should spend more.
I knew that was coming. And I don't, there's no
And I
objection.
really like to see us budget 4,500 towards them, okay, and just whatever,
Second.
triple, it's like, to me, I really believe in what they're doing, and I know I've had the fortunate opportunity of meeting some GE families that have come here, and they like what's going on here, okay, and so we have to have that ability to really, what they're doing is very important to us for our community in the long term. And sustainable and continued growth, and, you know, we're trying to build this vibrant community, I think.
I see the kids that the parents bring into the ski club, I coach at the ski club, and one of the moms was saying, I wanted to write a note back to the principal, but how do I explain that on one day they go hiking, for gym they go skiing, the 4th grade makes maple syrup on their own, and we've got all these other things going on, and there's, you know, there's theater, they can go to the Yale Theater in Woodstock and see what's going on. And they're sold on it.
Yeah.
You know, I was saying this coming in for 3. I was hoping someone would raise it. You know, I don't like half numbers. Why don't you just go 4 or 5?
Let's go 5.
5,000, motion to approve $5,000 for Cedar.
I'm cheap, but
Yeah.
honestly, I think that this is, and especially where we have the resort so strongly supportive of this, I think we should be backing what they're pushing in as well, so.
You have Eli with his hand up.
Go ahead, Eli.
My turn, yeah, I have a question. I'm curious, what does it cost you per family, the one that came here? Do you have a projection of what the cost might be per family going forward?
Are you talking about the cost per family of those that visited in our weekend getaway, or people that
Your
come?
budget, if you, whatever percent of your budget, or how many dollars you put toward this, or how much you project it's gonna cost you
I think
per
that-
family?
I think
Do you
that's
have a
a,
projection?
yeah, I think that's a little tricky question there, because if you had the paperwork in front of you that we have, their budget for the year is $134,000 for this initiative. And then if you go to the other page, it shows that 100 families have moved in. So how long has this program been running?
So it is a tricky question, I appreciate it, Eli. we don't know how many families have actually moved here because of the program. People don't have to get our permission to come, so they may see the information we're putting out there, which may encourage them to come and visit, and we don't even know if they visited. We know that we have several hundred people that have moved here because they've gone through the program, because we've talked to them. And so that's the number that we know is real. And we don't try to inflate that because we don't actually know the number. It's a
Well,
difficult.
100 families is a nice number for your budget. If it's $100,000, it sounds like it's working very well.
We like to think so. And even the weekend getaway, it was $2,000 a family. If we got one of those families, we'd be doing better than the state does when they give people money to move here. So we kind of feel like if the state would just give us that money, we'd be just fine.
Tomorrow, I'm meeting with a couple along with the concierge coordinator. They're interested in moving here. We're going out for coffee. So, that's $15.
And what
Where are you getting
Olivia,
coffee for only 15?
Well, that's for all four of us.
what Olivia is describing, we call our secret sauce.
Yeah.
And it's the relationship building. And we have to get to know people so that we can find out more about them. So if you click on concierge on our realrutland.com website, you're going to talk to Carly Haven. She's a real person that lives in Rutland, and she's going to answer your questions. The whole time, she's taking notes, Eli, on what you like and how big your family is and what your job is, and then she connects you with someone else who's on our list of those 30 concierge volunteers. She cross-references that so that she knows she's giving you somebody your age, your demographic, who will have answers to your questions. Not a complicated process. It's just takes time.
Well, if you've had 100 families to move here, I think that's very impressive. At least I'm impressed.
I think we're.
Thank you.
We're making great inroads in the fact that people do, once they're given the information that you're out there, giving them, it's important because that's what's, all of a sudden they're leaving the fire belt, as it's called, or these other areas, and it's much nicer to be here and safer to be here. And so I applaud you for your efforts. I think it's exactly what we need to be going on right now.
I have just a question about the advertisement Weekend Getaway. Were these places in it, were they picked because of like populace? Because I'm sure some of them aren't, like New York, you wouldn't leave out, LA, you wouldn't leave out. But the rest of them, are they off of like what you've seen from where people are coming in?
Yes.
Or is it, so it's
So
a
these
structured?
Yes, these
Cool.
are already
Or targeted.
places, yep,
Yeah.
that the people have been interested in moving here, whether they have moved or they've just reached out for a lot of information. These are the most popular areas.
Cool.
I mean, if you look at their budget, you see advertising, there's two lines. There's one, media by regional, and then media by local. And here we are saying $5,000, but they got $45,000 for advertising. And a lot of their advertising is saying you're not gonna get 100 days in unless you move here to the county. They're actually
It's a win for us.
spending more than the $5,000 that we're offering, putting in, you're not gonna get more than 100 days, and they're talking about Killington. So I just like to call a question.
Sure.
Yep.
Well, and another place that Killington Resort is very generous is with the pictures that they give us.
So Chris, can you formalize your motion?
I'd like to motion that we move to the line item being $5,000 on our budget line.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Thanks a lot, guys.
It's just that Jim had said 3, so we needed to
Then
have
he
it
said
changed.
4,500.
I just
Right.
wanted,
Then I said, let's go even.
We had to settle on something.
yep, settled.
Thank you for your support. We're going to be able to go to other communities now and say, look at what Killington just did.
We only got 1,500 people, look at you guys.
And we were going to stay another hour to see how high this would go. but-
Yeah, we have 1,500, but don't count the weekend.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
Thanks a
you.
lot.
Guys, I
Thank you.
appreciate your
Be
For all
efforts.
the
offended.
help you've been
Well,
in our.
Appreciate it.
You're doing all the work.
It means a lot when these guys can say, by the way, Rutland is behind us in this, and they're helping us out in this particular aspect of what's going on. That carries a lot of weight.
Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good night. Appreciate it.
you.
Have a good one.
Oof, you're up again now, Jim.
Yeah, short-term rental zoning update. There are 399 registered as of 5:30 this afternoon. There's $152,000 that have been paid in by ACH or credit cards. I have probably another $3,000 worth of checks that I need to put through. And then I have one, because the resort does pay for all of theirs, people, they've registered them. So there's about $14,000 there. We're up to about $170,000 right now in revenue, with $399 from September 1st of 2021 to the end of '22, August of '22. There was 617 that had that had registered. December is still a big month, and then you get a little bit from there. So I think we're gonna have more than 617 this current year. But even if we take that, the 617 minus it, it's 154 or whatever, 617 minus the 399. 218 more should be registering on it. If I take the 170,000 and divide it by the amount that are here, it's averaging out about $425 a group that comes in. So the 218 times the 425, about another $92,000. So we should be hitting that 255 to 270 that we budgeted for. You know, when we first did the budgeting, it was based off of the higher price. I think the lowest was 400 for up to the 2 bedrooms, and we changed it up to 1 and then 2 bedrooms. But, you know, I think we're getting more people coming in.
Well, you may get more coming in, you may lose some too.
Yeah.
So there's gonna be a flush through.
Yeah, but I mean, if I look at just the month of November, like last year, it was like $35,000 taken in. We're at 80-something right now. December was the same, was like 35, so, you know, I see us doing that other, 100K or whatever coming in. I went into work yesterday morning for a little bit, and at that time, I had 128 or 138 registrations waiting to be gone through. I went through a bunch of them. I'm down to 8 out of that batch. If anyone's listening, whatever, it does take time to go through to make sure the sewer allotment's right, the occupancy's right, making phone calls for, they're supposed to have, if they're over a certain amount, I think it's over 12, or maybe it's 6, once you hit 16, their alarm system should be checked each year. So, you know, they just have to then, I send the email over to Division of Fire Safety, include the person that's on, and then they send over that they had their unit inspected and stamped or whatever the sticker put on the alarm system. As far as zoning is going, up to about 62 permits given out so far this year, and I have about 10 that are sitting on my desk. So it's been a busy bunch of months going on right now. And, you know, everybody seems to be doing good. Like, you know, they get it. They got to do stuff. And, you know, I think it's going pretty well.
Great.
Jim, I don't know how many residents there are in the town, but what do you think percentage-wise of residents are registered to short-term?
Residents?
Like resident locations, so like a house, an apartment, like the total number in the town, what percentage is registered to Airbnb?
Well, I mean, it's not just Airbnb. It's, yeah.
Short term.
So if I'm telling you that last year we had 617 registered, I think there is about 2,000 units in the town, Chet.
Yeah, it's like 24, 2,500, I think.
You know, so 25%. of our units in town are rented out in the short-term rental program. Now, you know, there's quite a bit.
That could
That
mean a
would-
week on Christmas, a week on,
Well, no, this is people that are over 14 days. So there are a lot of people that call me and say, I'm only gonna rent for Christmas week, and you don't need to register for that. So there are people that they sit there and they see that they can, you know, they rent their place for 10 nights and they may pay their property taxes.
yeah.
And they don't need to register if they're less than 14 days.
Or they paid their dues
Yeah.
for the year.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more people that are renting for less than, I bet you there's another 600 people or
Yeah,
units
that
that
do.
rent for
Here or there,
the 14 days or whatever.
yeah, big days.
You know, we're not getting, I saw a complaint, I seen 2 complaints for a World Cup weekend that I have to look, noise complaints.
good.
One on Saturday night and one on Sunday night. That's a big change from where we were a few years ago,
Yeah, that's good direction.
you know, so
Good.
I think it's working.
You good?
I'm good.
Okay. Are you going to present the hazard mitigation plan?
Yeah, basically, as you know, we've had a committee together that worked on the hazard mitigation plan for pretty much the last year. It's been brought a couple of times for hearings to the planning commission. We have our final,
By chance? Because it's a picture of the fire up on the hill
it's,
that Murray took.
Yeah.
it's a plan that allows us to apply for grants for hazard mitigation. And we have gone through the planning process. This was the final draft, we'll call it, that needs to be then forwarded on to the state's FEMA representatives for comment. They will make their comments. If we have to make any amendments or changes, we will do it at that time, and then it comes back to the select board for final adoption at some point over the next couple of months. So basically, what we're looking for is authorization to forward this to the state.
Motion to allow the town manager and planning to, with the hazardous mitigation.
And this is, as I understood it, because I was part of doing this, it's something that comes up every number of years and has to be updated. And what it does for us, like, this is one of the fires that Murray McGrath on Search and Rescue took a picture of. It allows us, when something like that happens, to put it in the plan for how we're going to react to it and what's going to happen. So,
This is just a plan, it is not saying we're gonna get everything
No,
done.
it's basically it's primarily an identification tool of what our potential hazards are in these events. And then if there's any way to mitigate them, we then would
should.
apply for the grant and see if we're able to do any mitigation. So that's the intent, you know, it covers flooding, it covers fires, it covers snowstorms, it covers, you know, floods, it's everything, all the different pieces are included in this. It's 39 pages. I didn't print it, but it's available. It's been on the Planning Commission website. I sent it to you guys electronically.
You know, I'd just like to say, I know, like, Steve, you would meet up once a week or whatever for a while and chat or whatever, but Lisa Davis,
Lisa
Lewis,
did the majority of it.
you know,
Well, with
she
with
was
Stephanie.
with Stephanie Bork
Bork,
from Rutland Regional.
Yep.
I mean, I'd be in at the zoning side and she'd be on the phone with the fire department, the police department, Ricky checking on culverts and this and that, and we're flooding and going and looking at, you know, I think even Darrell was out looking at streams and culverts and stuff back when this was going on, so,
And
you
that-
know, a big shout out to, you know, Lisa for,
Any and everybody that could possibly be involved was invited in
It's great.
to speak to this, right from Chet running the town office
right,
to, you know, someone like Gary coming in with fire department responses.
right.
We didn't talk specifically to Craig Mosier, but back with Irene, with the
Right.
damage that happened there and
Right.
how things had to be rebuilt.
I just want to give a shout out to Lisa,
Yeah.
she does really.
Yeah,
good.
she did a tremendous amount of work on this.
Okay.
Okay.
Second your motion?
Motion to move it forward?
Yep.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Okay. I don't see anyone from the golf course, so I'm guessing you're,
Mark is gonna
Mark's the finance golf guy.
This is slightly revised from what you were sent the other day, because there was a couple of sales that came in after the fact that were actually for a month that was included. So this is updated to reflect those.
What were the major changes? What were the major changes?
There was an event at the end of September that should have got booked in October. I accrued it. The check came in November, and it wasn't recorded in the point of sale until November.
Okay.
$9,500. 7,000, it was the Vermont Retail Grocers Association event. 7,000 in green fees, 2,500 in food revenue.
Cool.
Okay.
And the revenue for the month of September, I know we were looking at where we were thinking we were gonna be off from a year to year. At one point, did we catch up?
I sent you
The newest one, okay.
an attachment recently. It's a summary version of what you'd see there in NIMRIC. And it shows versus last year actual, and then what it is month over month to the Brown budget.
Where'd it go? I saw it on my phone, that's why I didn't.
Did you put it, do you have a golf course folder?
I don't think it went there, but I gotta check. No.
Go to all?
Was in the last half hour. That's where I was.
There it is. Finally came.
No, you're saying thank you.
No, but I'm looking for the attachment. I wanted
It
to
was
get it out
down
of my
there.
way.
It's attached.
Is it still down below? Yeah, it says from finance manager.
Slide down. Right there.
Oh, there it is
PDF.
down there.
Open that. Oh,
So the first part is showing versus last year. The most significant thing for last year was that they didn't record inventories correctly in the past. Those are now being tracked correctly, and so there was a significant adjustment last year for inventory.
So if I look at this here for the pro shop, it's telling me actual to date of 10/31 was 757 in revenue. Year to
Correct.
date, and then last year that ended 10/31 of 21 was 720.
Correct.
Okay, so it's a
So, I mean-
$36,000 positive on that. Let's go down further so we can see.
I think the biggest thing is to take that to the bottom. So
If you get
if
rid
you're
of
up
the- can you get rid of the
36,000 in
people?
revenue, how much are you taking to the bottom line?
Right, so now let's go down.
So if you go to the pro shop, cost of goods.
Just take it all the way to the bottom.
So the right-hand side is the $100,000 mark, is that
That's the variance.
that's the variance? 21 was 366 surplus, and this year it's 466? If I
That's
read that
correct.
right?
Yeah.
If I remember
Could
going
you,
up.
where are cost of goods at
So
compared
there
to
go
everything?
to
The most surplus deficit after capital,
Right.
that's what you want to look at.
Yeah.
Because the town contributed significant revenues.
Oh, okay, so yeah, the
Yeah.
surplus after
So that's-
capital, so we're
So
up
whenever you see
6%.
this report, that's what you want to look at.
Right.
After capital.
Right.
So that takes into, the biggest capital expense is our
Golf carts?
golf cart lease payment, $72,000 a year.
Right.
and do you know how much longer we have that? 2 years or
One more
3 years?
year.
Just one?
Yeah,
After this year? Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's one, Chet.
We were out there, they said one.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, can you go up a little further to the restaurant, whatever expenses?
I think that, I've mentioned this before, and it's
Restaurant
worthy to
expenses are
note.
42,000 versus 43.
Isolate the restaurant,
What
And
was the revenue?
the revenue is strong. It's really strong, but we're taking nothing to the bottom line.
Yep.
That should be of concern. So just something to note.
What does that mean?
Total
Unless
restaurant.
you're doing large volume, you're not gonna bring to the bottom line. The cost of goods are too high.
Exactly.
And so this is gonna be a problem, and we need to understand as a town is that it's amenity to these people being there and making sure that they have a great time golfing and they can get a beer and do
And
those
the
things.
service
The
is available.
service is there so they come back. But if we ever think that this is gonna generate to our bottom line, we're crazy. There's not
Yeah.
enough volume. We ne-
You're not gonna make
not
money
afraid
on
of
lunch.
Is charging accordingly, okay? Their beer pricing should not be in line with a restaurant, or they should you pay a little more out there, because that's a service. So, because you want to encourage those people to do it. You don't want to get too high where they start stuffing them in their bags, but the point is, we just have to find that.
There's an
sweet spot.
equilibrium.
There's a sweet spot in it.
Yes, and I think if you looked at any of the cost of goods, the one that we lost ground in this year was food. And
It's
and
what
you would
cost
know,
went way
the
up.
food cost is up, and we may not have been able to adjust our pricing and still provide the service. It's really an add-on to the
I mean,
course
you get it.
of playing the
They're
course.
upping their pricing, and they're
Yeah.
getting a sweet spot now on the day pass for golf. But with that day pass comes that you need to have food and beer, and
Those things you need to offer.
you need to
Yeah.
have that
Yeah.
income coming in on the other
No, I
side.
thought, I just thought it was worth noting.
Yep,
Right, so.
yep, thank you.
So the 600, we're saying that there's a balance as the end of October going to November of 611. Of that 611, 155 is restricted.
Correct.
Okay. So we have about 460.
Right, and we run about 33 to 35,000 a month, I think, through the winter.
December,
Negative.
January, November, December, January, February, March.
So,
In April, we start getting.
In early December, I'll give you a quick
Yeah, so
cash
like-
flow forecast
Yeah,
like I
so
did
like you
last
did
year.
last year.
Yep,
You'll tell us where we are going into like
and
January.
what we
or whatever.
anticipate.
Yeah, so, you know, and that number, and let's remember, like, the 611 that they have this year at the end, they did make already $70,000 worth of payments towards the bonds.
Correct.
So last year, when we looked at this 611, if it was, it would have been 687, because they didn't make the.
That's correct.
That was the
Yeah,
last
yeah,
time.
we eroded 70,000
We
in
eroded
cash.
70,000 in
That
cash
wasn't there on a
for the bond.
comparative.
Right, so,
basis.
you know, all right,
good.
I'm good with it.
Yep, and too. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
And then we have the town side.
Do we have to motion to approve it or not?
You can do it all at once if you
All
want.
right.
That way, because the treasurer's report covers both things
Okay,
anyway.
great.
So revenue-wise, we're pretty much where we're supposed to be. We are looking at our delinquencies, and they're about the same as they normally are. We've started the process of working towards tax sales for the group. We've sent those off to the attorney.
To get in front of us for you to move forward with it.
I believe I will have, in the next couple of days, I should have the letter to have you authorize me to sign the agreement that we engage the attorney. And then he basically, in this case, handles pretty much the whole process. And with the new state rules, instead of 30 days notice, it's 60.
And who's the attorney, which one?
Jim Barlow.
Okay.
And do we know,
And do we have a dollar amount yet of what you're looking at?
No, the engagement letter is we've sent him all the information, and he's developing the
He
engagement
computes
letter.
that?
Excuse me?
He computes all
You don't know how
that?
Yes,
much
he's
his back
gonna
tax
com-
is?
How much in taxes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's also gonna have to
It's-
put on top of the fees for,
Yeah.
so. Don't we first send a letter out to everybody saying that it's gonna go to legal?
No, that's the 60 days. We're gonna send the letter,
Right, And
but
so.
along with
Some
Jim.
people may start paying.
Yeah, typically, when we did it the last time, we had about the same number, and about half paid,
Right.
and about half went to tax sale.
Right, and then that's where, when it goes to a tax sale, it starts the
That's,
legal.
the fees starts to accumulate that we're able to collect. I did not bring it with me. It's in the 400 and something thousand range
Okay.
of the group that we're looking at. And that number is directly tied to, when I looked at the number for determining it, that's the ones that are more than 2 years or more old. That's not, that's not including current total
Right, well,
numbers.
because if you go two, then if it goes to a tax sale.
Then we
or
go
somebody-
back, and then it comes to
they-
current.
They have to come current.
Right. Which is what we now have done that tabulation as well, but I don't have that total with me.
Right, okay. You'll have that at the next meeting?
Yes, because actually, probably before, if we have any interim meetings, we may be able to do the engagement letter.
If it goes to tax sale, where does it get posted? Town hall?
5 locations, and it will be on in the website, it'll be on the town, it'll be everywhere.
Cool.
So some people also, if it does go to a tax sale and it gets the penalties or whatever for the law council or whatever, they still have up until that morning to clear up, and once the tax sale goes, it goes to a bid or whatever. The town only keeps.
Then they have a year to redeem
Yeah,
it.
the town only keeps what's owed to the
Yeah,
town.
yeah.
And the folks that own the property have up to a year to redeem it. So if they do, if somebody, I knew folks that would just go to tax sales and, because I think you get, what, 1%?
1% a month.
1% a month,
Or I thought it was
So
up to
it's a-
13 now.
Last I looked, it was 12, I'll have to double check.
but at least you make at least 1% on your money, so if you put the money up and then people redeem it 8 months or 10 months later, you're making 8 or 10% on your money,
Right.
so. But, okay.
So, yeah, and basically, we're tracking on our expenses, and our net about the same. Total revenues are tracking. We just got some good news today, and we'll have that on the next report, we are about 30,000 higher for the quarter for options tax again.
Now, which quarter would that be?
This would be quarter two.
Okay.
Well, we just got that today, that notice, so. Basically,
It's just gonna keep
we're
going up.
we're chugging along at the right clip from town operations.
Great.
On the treasurer's side, we have now collected a total of 12 million. We will be sending out on December 1st the check for 5.6 or 7 million for the school.
5.7
There it
on
is,
the bottom.
5.746. That'll be going out plus the restricted. And we also, so basically, we're where we're supposed to be at this point as well. And we have some monies that will be going back in here for TIF expenses that have not been reimbursed yet, so we'll be working on those as well.
Next tax payment, it was November, was it November, the last one, November?
We're in the
15th?
middle of that right now.
Okay.
We're on that, we're just at the end of the grace period now, we're still getting checks.
Okay. And then February is the next one after that?
February 15th is the next tax payment to us, and the next payment to the state is June 1st.
Okay.
Okay.
And then you got this here. All right, I make a motion to accept the golf course and the town financials and the treasurer's report. All three in one.
You okay, Chris?
Second.
All right, all in favor of accepting as presented, please say aye. Aye.
Mark, just a quick question on the golf course treasurer's report. The balance of October 31st for the Sherburne Golf Services was 76,000.
Yeah,
Do we move that over at some point now?
yeah, we will. I'll leave like 40 grand in there probably
Okay,
for startup.
okay.
Great.
Okay. So we have, should I call it good news?
It's news.
Beaver Dam permit?
Yeah, we, after quite a number of months and a couple of years, we have received our beaver, our streams alteration permit for our beaver management plan. And that management plan includes maintaining a certain water level in the area and being able to remove certain portions of dams, depending on the time of year, and working with that. The first section, which is the one that's causing the most damage right now, starts tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. And we will be removing about a foot of the dam in one section to allow the water to settle, and we'll do a foot a day until we get it to the level we're supposed to.
Foot a day.
And I have a,
How many feet is it gonna take?
I think it's 3 or 4.
Yeah, but
At
that,
least.
that body of water,
Yeah.
for 1 foot to go down,
I know.
I think it's gonna take more than a day.
Actually, I was surprised when they did it a year ago. It went down pretty quick, but we'll see. I mean, we don't.
It's not a lot higher, the more
If
the
it's still,
higher the
if it's,
brim.
right, if we have to slow it down, we will, but we're looking to just try and get the process started, so in the next
down.
week or two.
I think it's gonna take a while.
well,
It's a lot of water.
I didn't mean, no, I know that. I'm
You've seen
saying,
the size of Lake Hagenbarth?
yes, I have seen the size of
I
Lake.
just want you to know.
Well,
Do
no.
you know Chris and I had orders in for some,
Boats.
I had a Donzi 46-footer. He had a 46-foot yacht. We just had to
We are-
cancel it because you got your permit after 3 years.
see, I just brought my kayak.
I
wasn't gonna buy a new boat.
I got a congratulation email from Zapata today saying, I'm glad we finally got it done and we can
Yeah.
get the thing under control.
I have one serious and one not so serious question. The work done on this, is this something that was already included in our budget?
Well, it's under, we always have contracted services under the highway section, and that's where it would
Yeah.
go.
And my not so serious question is, this post that's supposed to tell us the water level, is this something the beavers can't chew down and
Yeah,
use for
no,
the dam?
the engineer is going to be
So we
placing.
can't use, it
She's
can't
going to
be
start
wood.
putting stakes in so we can monitor the progress.
So we'll do metal, not wood.
I know for
Okay.
a fact, I think the
Road
mat that's on
retarded on
is, I think the mat that's
Is
on
Miss Irby?
is Matt from River Road. But I was talking to him today, he came into that he came in
There
from
he is.
the town hall this afternoon.
Yeah.
You know, he is trapping around in the area
Yep.
because that's what he does.
Yep.
I noticed going by Groom's house.
Yep.
That the water level was really down there, which was
Yes.
good. You know, once again, I know like Andrew McKenna is not around right now, but, you know, Matt was saying that he's seen the level coming down, but that is one of the, Andrew has been one of the ones, really big concerns for him and his neighbors where they were losing their backyards and water coming in. So there is a dam back in that area.
That's included in this permit. There's 5 right now that are also included in being managed. And actually, and then there's 1 or 2 down below River Road towards the Sky Ship.
But some of those dams are not gonna be able to get from the road or a track or an excavator.
Those are the ones that we had put in there, and I gotta check and see where it ended up, but we actually talked to the state about having winter access when it's frozen and being able to get in there with a small machine, and we're going to be allowed to do that. We just have to keep coordinating with the state to do it, so we can do those when we can get to them, because you can't get to them in the summer.
It sounded
That's
like in
it, the
a
one behind the town
conversation-
hall.
It sounded like in a conversation, when we all met, they were like, it's gonna be approved, just, we'll work together to
Yeah.
get through it.
Right.
Timing and dates, it didn't seem like they were opposed to anything.
No,
know
basically,
it
at this
ha- they
point,
know
they
it has
know
to
the
come.
problem, and we're just trying to work the process without doing any damage.
Right. So-
You have someone in chat. Care or not, or maybe a question. Nope.
Fiberglass pole. Matt?
So, you know, but I mean, I know Matt's been out there, and I know he's also kayaking out there and setting his traps on some of them, and he was telling me how it's down a lot over by Andrews or whatever. He's seeing it receding down, because if they're not there to rebuild, then
Right.
Well,
the
and,
water will
and
go out.
when I talked to Craig, he had mentioned that Matt was planning, like, when we started to get it lowered, to set the traps around where we lowered it so it doesn't get rebuilt, so
Right.
that's the
And
goal.
just-
And do we have a date when we can start this?
Tomorrow.
even better.
Yeah. So, I mean, and then anyone, this is not really to get rid of the beavers, this is to maintain our
Manage the water
roads
level.
and our culverts. If they can stay around with the water below the culverts, then great.
Well, the ultimate vision you would have for it is they're gonna keep working to build it, and we're gonna be able to at least know, having the permit and having the management plan in place, we will be able to continually monitor certain areas and not let it get away from us and keep the water level, because that's one of the things we talk about, the elevation pole, is to know where the water level needs to be.
So thinking down the road, this is a document that should be put in a vault, and if any time a new manager comes in, they go for the recipe book.
Exactly.
You do not want to lose this for another couple of years again, because it's just crazy.
This has to be
Okay.
ongoing.
Well, see,
Great.
It was good news.
Yes.
All right. Are you appointing a director other than?
You guys are. The Rutland Emergency Management Committee, we have always have a management director and a voting member. And now that we have a new fire chief, we had to appoint Chris Lahart, John Chris Lahart, and Tom Rock would be continuing as the deputy. He was on this in the past. So just need a motion to do so, and then the chair would sign the document.
Take a motion.
So moved.
So this is for John Lahart?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
And Tom Rock, it's putting him.
Tom Rock
back in,
as,
too.
Did you frame this?
Not yet.
all in favor of
The emergency manager.
John Lahart being the emergency manager and Tom Rock being his, is he called an assistant or a deputy?
He's the
It says voter.
emergency services voter. He's the
Voter,
second.
okay.
They both give each other the.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And this is the document, which is the transition agreement with the with the fire department. This is just for your information right now, it's for comment. I had already sent it out to Chris Lahart for review, and he was fine with it. This was prepared by our attorney. It's in conjunction with our resolution that we voted on last year. And I will be presenting this to the fire department for acceptance, but this is just an FYI, so you can take a look at it. And then in the process, I'm hoping that between now and the next select board meeting, we would be able to execute this document, and then we're going to be creating the set of rules, which is basically mirroring the bylaws that the current fire department has into the the town of Killington's fire department procedures, and that will ultimately have to be adopted by the select board. And then, once that's done, the fire department will then nominate their officers as the way they always have, and then they'll be presented through the fire chief to the town manager for adoption. So that's how the transition would happen. So in this particular case, sometime likely in January, the whole department would be under the town's umbrella.
And the thing that I had for other business was something that was brought up by one of the fire people. There is an agreement because like Deer's Leap is Vermont State Forest. And when our people go in there, they're able to, I'm going to use the term get repaid, I don't know what the actual term is. Reimbursed. And
stipend, yeah.
that agreement needs to be redone, but when I talked to Chet earlier, he brought up the point that as the town is taking over the fire department, renewing it right now, it would have to be done again when this is done. So we're just as well off waiting till the town actually finishes this transition agreement.
The agreement was between the corporation and the state, and this time it will be between the town and so. We would then give that charge to the new chief to handle.
So why isn't that already done when the voters in the town of Killington had already said it was going to be the town? So
What are
why
we
doesn't
talking about?
The voters in March
Yeah,
voted that this fire department become a town.
right.
So, I mean,
That gave us the authorization to create it. Now we do the transition.
all right, but why do we have to give a lapse of time for folks that may get a call while we're doing this and not get reimbursed. When does the reimbursement lapse?
I didn't, to be honest with you, today was the first time I ever heard this agreement existed. This was
first
something
time
that
I
went
heard
back years ago. I don't think it's
Well, I don't
concurrent.
understand why it's just a deer's leap if, when we had the fire up here, that was on state land and federal
Well,
land too.
what he was bringing up was that Deer's Leap was in the state forest.
What I had intended
His
to
reference
do.
was to the state forest, not to that
So,
specifically.
so to
I'm
get
gonna
to
talk
my
to
point
Lars.
is,
I gotta
is
find out what
when
this
does
is.
it end?
Right.
Okay?
Mhm.
If it's already ended,
Mhm.
then if everyone already knows it's going through the town, this other stuff is not, the town can go ahead and make an agreement on itself right
Correct.
now.
Well, I'm gonna talk, I would
Let's
plan,
not wait.
I didn't know this agreement ever existed, so I'm gonna talk to Lars, who our contact with the state forestry group, and find out. what
We
gotta
got
do.
into that on the fire up on River Road towards
Yeah.
Goodrose, where we got reimbursed for the hoses that were
Right.
in our town.
Right.
I think I believe in that deal, it was supposed to be whatever firefighters in Killington was supposed to get reimbursed too, but we didn't.
Right. So I will follow that up. Like I said, yeah, we just found this one out today.
Okay,
I just don't want it to lapse. if we can.
That's fine.
are we to citizen input? Are you good?
I'm good.
Okay. You guys, you're good now?
Skating rink looks pretty cool, set up.
Yeah, it looks good. They did a great job.
Yeah.
They had a pile of volunteers too, which I was psyched for. There's more chat?
The, more chat, and there's two people. Do you have?
Just thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, he left.
Okay. So we have Matt and Kurt. Do you guys have anything that we did not go over tonight?
I do not myself, but thank you for asking.
Okay, thank you. So, is there other business? I've already given mine. In that case, is there a need for executive session?
I'd say there's executive session, personnel,
Yeah.
and, I don't know, legal.
Recording stopped.